Hilda was a very beautiful young woman. Her beauty was the kind that made people stop and look at her twice whenever she walked past. Even women admired how lovely she looked. Her skin was smooth, her smile was bright, and everything about her stood out. Because of her beauty, many men wanted to marry her. They brought gifts, tried to impress her, and told her how much they loved her. But Hilda was not easy to please. She would quietly watch each man from head to toe, paying attention to everything about him. She wanted to be sure the man had what she was looking for. Hilda didn't have many requirements for a husband, but she had one important rule: he must be rich. She wanted a man who already had money and could never go broke. In her own words, "I don't want to suffer or manage with any man." Hilda believed that love was not enough. For her, money was the key to a happy life. So even though many men came asking for her hand in marriage, she turned down those who didn't meet her standard. She waited patiently, hoping one day the right wealthy man would come along and sweep her off her feet. One sunny afternoon, a young man named Paul came to see Hilda. Paul was handsome, polite, and dressed in fine clothes. He drove a shiny black car and was known in the town for being successful in business. People said he made his money from real estate and importation. In just a few years, he had built houses, owned cars, and was already helping other young men grow in life. Everyone respected him, not just because he was rich, but because he was kind and generous. Paul had seen Hilda several times and was truly drawn to her beauty and grace. After much thought, he decided to ask for her hand in marriage. He went with his friends and some family members to visit Hilda's house. When Paul spoke, he was humble. "Hilda," he said, "I have seen many women, but none like you. I want you to be my wife, and I promise to treat you with love and respect. I will give you a good life." Everyone was happy. Paul's words touched the hearts of Hilda's family. Her mother smiled, and her father nodded in approval. Paul seemed like the perfect man: young, successful, respectful, and clearly in love. But Hilda was not moved. After Paul and his people left, Hilda sat quietly for a while. Then she looked at her mother and said, "Mommy, I will not marry Paul." Her mother was shocked. "Why, Hilda?" she asked. "Paul is everything you've been looking for. He is rich, and he treats you with respect. You've turned down so many suitors already. This is a good opportunity." Hilda shook her head slowly. "Yes, Paul is rich," she replied, "but his money is new money. He only started making it a few years ago. What if he loses it tomorrow? What if something happens and we go back to suffering? I'm not ready to take that risk. I want a man who comes from old money. A man whose family has been wealthy for years. That kind of wealth doesn't disappear overnight." Her mother sighed deeply. "But Hilda, life doesn't work that way. Nothing is guaranteed. Even old money can get finished." But Hilda stood firm. "The kind of man I want will still come," she said with confidence. "He will be rich, from a wealthy background, and his riches will be stable. I can feel it. He's out there somewhere." Her mother looked at her daughter and didn't know what else to say. Deep inside, she worried that Hilda was missing a good man because of her high expectations. But she also knew Hilda was strong-willed and would not be forced. So, once again, Hilda said no to marriage. Paul was heartbroken and confused, but he left with dignity, and Hilda continued to wait, her eyes still watching and her heart still hoping for the kind of man she believed was perfect. Hilda wasn't alone in her way of thinking. She had a close friend named Martha who was just like her. Martha was also beautiful, smart, and had big dreams. The two friends were always seen together, and they shared the same mindset about life and marriage. Just like Hilda, Martha had turned down many men who came her way. She too wanted a wealthy husband, but not just any rich man. She wanted a man who came from old money, a man whose family had been rich for generations. She believed that kind of wealth was safer, more stable, and more respected. One evening, as the two friends sat under a mango tree, they had a deep conversation. "Hilda," Martha said, "people are beginning to think we're too proud." Hilda smiled and replied, "Let them think whatever they want. We know what we are doing. It's either old money or nothing." "I'm not ready to manage with any man," Martha nodded. "Exactly. We'll wait for as long as it takes. Our kind of husband will come. We're not in a hurry." They both made a strong decision long ago. They would never settle for anything less than what they wanted. No matter how long it took, they were ready to wait. As time passed, word began to spread around the community. People started calling Hilda and Martha the Untouchables. The men who once ran after them now simply admired them from afar. Some said, "They're too selective." Others said, "They're chasing after dreams that may never come true." But Hilda and Martha didn't care. They walked with their heads high, their steps full of confidence. Whenever the two friends walked down the road, people would stop to look at them. Men would admire their beauty, whisper quietly, and then walk past without saying a word. It was no longer because the men weren't interested, but because everyone believed it was useless trying. They had heard the stories. They knew the girls were not impressed by cars, gifts, or sweet words, unless the man behind it all came from old money. In a neighboring village not too far from theirs, there lived a wealthy man named Chief Martin. He was in his early 60s, a well-respected elder known far and wide. Chief Martin was the definition of old money. He owned many properties both home and abroad. His name alone opened doors. He had cars, businesses, and land in several states. Everyone who heard of him knew he was a man of influence and class. Chief Martin's wife had died many years ago, and his children were all grown and living overseas. Though he was older, he still looked strong and full of life. One day, Chief Martin was discussing with his close friend, James, who was from Hilda's village. "James," Chief Martin said, "I want a wife, not just any woman. I want someone young, beautiful, and presentable. Someone I can take to events and be proud of. Someone who will make me feel young again." James thought for a moment and replied, "I know just a person. Her name is Hilda. She's from my village. Very beautiful, and everything you just described. But there's something you should know, she has rejected many men before. Even rich ones. So I can't guarantee she will say yes." Chief Martin smiled confidently. "James, no woman can reject my money. Let's go bring my wife home." And so, the plan was made. When Chief Martin arrived at Hilda's home, he didn't come quietly. He came with a convoy, expensive cars, bodyguards, and bags of gifts. There were wrappers, bags of rice, crates of drinks, boxes of jewelry, and thick envelopes of money. The whole street stood still. People came out of their houses, eyes wide, mouths open. Chief Martin stepped out of his car, wearing a clean white abaya, red cap, and dark sunglasses. He looked like a king coming to take his bride. Hilda watched everything from the window, and for the first time, her heart beat fast, not with fear, but with excitement. When Chief Martin spoke, he didn't beat around the bush. "I've heard a lot about you. You are exactly what I'm looking for. I know I'm older than you, but I will treat you like a queen. I will give you the life you've always dreamed of. All I ask is for you to be my wife." There was no hesitation. No long thinking. No need to ask questions. Hilda smiled and said, "Yes. I will marry you." Her mother was shocked. After all the young men she had rejected, after all the talks and advice, this one she agreed to without blinking. But when she looked outside at the cars, the gifts, and the power behind Chief Martin's presence, she understood. Hilda had found her own money. The whole village was in shock. Some praised her, others gossiped. But Hilda didn't care. She had waited, and now her dream has come true. After the celebrations, Hilda followed her husband, Chief Martin, to his mansion. The house was like a palace, big compound, beautiful gardens, cars lined up like a showroom, and maids who answered at her call. Everything was just as Chief Martin had promised. Hilda lived like a princess. New clothes, designer bags, luxury perfumes, money at her fingertips. Anything she wanted, she got. Chief Martin, though rich and generous, was not a young man. He was in his 60s, and his energy was not what Hilda wanted. He spent most of his days attending meetings, reading newspapers, or watching TV. Sometimes he traveled abroad to visit his children or handle business. He treated Hilda with respect and care, but there was no real excitement between them. No deep connection. No spark. Hilda began to feel empty inside. She had all the wealth she ever wanted, but she was not emotionally happy. She missed the thrill of youth, the laughter, the passion. She had money, but she didn't have companionship in the way she desired. That was when she made a decision. She reached out to a young man she had once dated, a tall, handsome guy named Toby who lived in a nearby town. Toby wasn't rich, but he was full of life. He was charming, playful, and knew how to make Hilda laugh. They began talking again, then meeting in private. And before long, they started dating again. Each time Chief Martin traveled for business, Hilda would secretly invite Toby to the mansion. She made sure the house staff was sent out of the house until Toby leaves. The big house that once felt empty now became a playground for her secret life. With Toby, she felt young again. She laughed and enjoyed the attention she didn't get from her husband. To the outside world, Hilda had the perfect life. People still praised her and called her lucky. They didn't know what was going on behind the mansion gates. Hilda told herself she deserved it, that she had sacrificed her youth for comfort. And now she was simply finding a way to enjoy both. Hilda's secret affair with Toby continued for months without anyone suspecting a thing. Each time Chief Martin traveled, Toby would arrive. They laughed, played music, swam in the private pool, and enjoyed meals. One warm afternoon, as they lay in the master bedroom enjoying each other's company, Toby turned to Hilda with a strange look in his eyes. "Hilda," he said slowly, "do you want to enjoy this life forever? All this money, all this comfort, why borrow it when it can be yours completely?" Hilda turned to him, curious. "What do you mean?" Toby sat up and looked around the room. You're the legal wife, right? Chief Martin is old. His children are abroad. He trusts you. Why not get him to change his will? Let him put everything in your name or your child's name. Then, when the time is right, we send him to his ancestors. Hilda was silent for a moment. Her heart beat faster, not out of fear, but excitement. What Toby was saying sounded dangerous, but it also sounded like a golden key to permanent freedom. For the first time, she imagined being the sole owner of Chief Martin's empire, no more sneaking around, no more limits. She smiled slowly. Toby, you are truly wise. I've always known you're more than just a handsome face. From that moment, the plan began to form. Hilda added her own clever idea. I will tell Chief I'm pregnant. He has always wanted a child with me, even though his others are all grown. That way, I can convince him to write his will in favor of our child. Once that's done and everything is legally in place, we do what we need to do. Toby grinned, impressed by her cunning. You're brilliant, Hilda. You were made for this life. Over the following weeks, Hilda changed completely. She became more loving, more gentle, and more caring toward Chief Martin. She started cooking for him herself, massaging his feet at night, and calling him sweet names like my king and my love. Chief Martin, though surprised by the sudden affection, welcomed it with open arms. He believed Hilda was finally settling into her role as a wife. Then one morning over breakfast, Hilda touched her stomach and sighed. Darling, she said softly, I think I'm pregnant. Chief Martin looked up in surprise. Are you sure? I feel it, she replied. But I'll go for a hospital check soon. I just wanted you to know first. The news filled Chief Martin with joy. At my age, a new child? This is a blessing. Don't you think we should plan for the future? Hilda said. Just in case. Our child will need to be protected. Especially since your other children are far away. Let everything be clear and settled. Chief Martin nodded slowly. I think you should change your will in favor of our child to protect his future, Hilda continued. That way I wouldn't have to worry about anything. You're right. Chief Martin said, I'll call my lawyer next week. Everything was falling into place, just as Toby and Hilda planned. One calm evening, Chief Martin returned from one of his short trips. He looked tired, but his face wore a soft smile. Hilda, as usual, rushed out to welcome him, giving him a warm hug and taking his briefcase from him. She had been extra caring these past few weeks, and Chief Martin had played along like everything was fine. After dinner, just before bedtime, Chief Martin reached into his drawer and brought out an envelope. My queen, he said, handing it to her, I promised you we would settle everything for the future. Here's the new will, just as you asked. Hilda's eyes widened in delight. She snatched the paper eagerly and opened it. As her eyes scanned the document, her lips stretched into a big smile. According to the paper, Chief Martin had transferred all his major properties, houses, businesses, and even his foreign accounts, into her name and that of their unborn child. Hilda jumped up and hugged him tightly. Oh my love. Thank you. You don't know what this means to me. Chief Martin simply smiled and nodded. Anything for the mother of my child, but unknown to Hilda, that document was not the real will. It was a cleverly crafted fake made by Chief Martin's lawyer on his request. The moment Hilda told him she was pregnant and immediately started talking about his will, something didn't sit right with him. It felt too sudden. Too strategic. Chief Martin had lived a long life and dealt with all kinds of people. He knew when something wasn't right. So instead of arguing or showing suspicion, he played along and acted like he believed everything. But now, he had decided to act quietly and smartly. That night, while Hilda slept peacefully beside him, dreaming of the riches she believed would soon be hers, Chief Martin lay awake with his eyes open, staring at the ceiling. "Let's see what you're really planning," he thought to himself. It's time to watch closely. The next morning, he made a few secret phone calls. Chief Martin had perfected his plan. He instructed his security team to monitor the gates quietly, note every visitor, and report any unusual activity. He also told his personal driver never to leave the compound when he wasn't around, no matter what Hilda said. Most importantly, he installed small hidden cameras in selected areas of the house, with the help of a trusted friend. Hilda, completely unaware of what was going on, became more excited. She started spending more time on her phone with Toby, making plans and laughing freely. In her mind, she was already seeing herself as the sole owner of Martin's empire. "I think he has no idea," she told Toby one afternoon on a video call. "He just handed me the will like a fool." Toby laughed on the other end. "Just stay sharp, my queen. Soon, this whole kingdom will be yours." What they didn't know was that every word, every whisper, and every step was already being watched. Chief Martin, the man they thought was being fooled, was setting a trap, and it was only a matter of time before it snapped. From the moment Hilda received the will, she became bolder. She began to act like the queen of the house, ordering the staff around with more authority and walking with her shoulders high. To her, the end was near. Chief Martin would soon be gone, and everything would belong to her. But Chief Martin wasn't a fool. He slept with one eye open, literally. Every night. He lay beside her, quiet and still, but his mind was alert, listening to her every movement, watching her body language, and piecing together her plan like a puzzle. One particular night, just after midnight, Hilda lay beside Chief Martin as usual. She thought he had drifted into a deep sleep because of his soft snoring. Slowly, she sat up and looked at him, her eyes scanning his face. She watched him for a while, his chest rising and falling slowly, his wrinkled hands resting gently on his stomach. A cold thought crept into her mind. What if I end it tonight? One quick move, and it's over. No waiting. No risks. She looked around, saw a pillow nearby, and picked it up. Her hands trembled slightly as she stood over him. Her heart beat loudly in her chest, but just as she raised the pillow, ready to press it down, a voice echoed in her head, Toby's voice. "Don't act rashly, Hilda. Be smart. Anything rushed can be traced. Wait until everything is legally yours. Be patient." Her hands dropped slowly, the pillow still in her grip. After a long moment of hesitation, she sighed and walked back to her side of the bed, placed the pillow down, and lay back beside her husband. What she didn't know was that Chief Martin was fully awake. His heart pounded, but his face stayed calm. He didn't move, didn't speak. He just blinked slowly and took a quiet breath. So it has come to this, he thought. She's ready to kill me. The next morning, Hilda acted like nothing happened. She served Chief Martin breakfast in bed, smiling sweetly as if she hadn't just considered taking his life a few hours earlier. but Chief Martin had seen enough. The time to gather evidence had passed. Now it was time to act. One morning, he told Hilda he had to travel to the city for a business meeting and wouldn't be back for a couple of days. Hilda kissed him goodbye, her eyes sparkling with fake affection, and waved as the car drove out of the compound. What she didn't know was that Chief Martin hadn't gone far. He simply drove to a trusted friend's residence nearby and began watching everything from his phone. The hidden cameras he had installed in the sitting room, bedroom, and even the kitchen were now streaming live to his screen. Not long after Martin's car left, Toby arrived. He entered the house confidently, laughing and embracing Hilda like he owned the place. The two sat on the couch, whispering and planning. Then, Toby reached into his pocket and brought out a small bottle filled with a clear liquid. "This is it," he said, placing it in Hilda's palm. "A few drops in his evening drink, and it's done. No pain, no struggle." Hilda looked at the bottle, her hands shaking slightly with excitement. "Once this is over, everything is mine." From his hidden location, Chief Martin watched every word, every gesture. That was all the confirmation he needed. He dialed the police immediately. "Thieves are in my house now," he said calmly. "You'll find them in the sitting room. They have a bottle of poison with them, and I have recorded proof." Within minutes, 2 police vans pulled up at the gate. The security guards, already alerted by Chief Martin, let them in without hesitation. Hilda and Toby barely had time to react. Before they could move, the door burst open. Police officers stormed in and shouted, "Hands up!" Toby jumped to his feet in shock. Hilda screamed and dropped the bottle, which rolled across the tile floor. The officers handcuffed them both and recovered the poison. One officer held up a phone showing the live recording. "We have everything," he said coldly. "You're both under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy." As they were led out in shame, Hilda's knees buckled. She looked around the compound she once lived like a princess, now filled with police and neighbors watching in disbelief. The news of Hilda and Toby's arrest spread like wildfire. The village buzzed with whispers and shocked expressions. People couldn't believe that the same Hilda, the woman whose beauty made heads turn, had plotted to kill her husband with her lover. To make matters worse, during the investigation, it was revealed that Hilda had lied about being pregnant. Medical tests confirmed she wasn't carrying any child. It was all part of the grand deception. The court found both Hilda and Toby guilty of attempted murder and conspiracy. With all the video evidence and the poison bottle, their fate was sealed. They were each sentenced to 6 years in prison. Those 6 years felt like a lifetime for Hilda. No more soft beds, no jewelry, no fancy dresses, no sweet perfumes. Just a cold, hard prison cell, rough clothes, and shame. She often sat alone, staring at the wall, replaying every decision she had made, from rejecting young suitors to choosing wealth over love, from cheating to plotting murder. When her sentence ended and she was finally released, Hilda returned to her village quietly, wearing a simple gown and carrying a small bag of her few belongings. But the village had not forgotten. The once admired beauty now walked with her head bowed. Children whispered and pointed. Some laughed. Market women who once complimented her now shook their heads in pity. Young men who used to dream of marrying her now looked away in disgust. "She's the one who tried to kill her husband," they'd say. "She used to walk like a queen. See her now." Even her friend Martha, who once shared her dream of marrying only old money, had long moved on after seeing how her best friend ended up destroying her life because of greed. She has long gotten married to a humble teacher who treated her well. Their life wasn't rich, but it was peaceful. Hilda, now a shadow of who she once was, lived alone in her late parents' compound. Her parents had passed when she was in prison. No visitors. No suitors. No respect, the mirror no longer flattered her face. Time, prison, and regret had aged her. The beauty that once opened doors had faded, and all that remained was a story, one that mothers now told their daughters: don't be like Hilda. Beauty fades, but your choices last forever.